President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds.
You never said it was 6'4".
Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what you're. Anyway, just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. The reason I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf with you if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie, that he's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay, let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn.
Let's not act like children.
You are a child.
Specific.
All right, guys, we got some news for you here today, and this is a little bit bittersweet because this is our last opportunity to do this video. You are never going to see a Trump-Biden polls video ever again, so make sure you enjoy it. But guys, we can report to you that for one last final time, Donald Trump has defeated Joe Biden in the polls yet again. And you may be asking, Vince, what do you even mean by that? The election has been over for several months. Joe Biden was not even the candidate at the end of the election. How can Trump beat Biden again when everything is over? Well, we'll explain to you what we mean by that in today's video. First, folks, do us a big favor. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. According to the statistics, 70% of you guys watching this video are not subscribed, and that is even worse than Joe Biden's approval rating. So make sure you subscribe and help us hit our goal of 400K before the inauguration. And with that said, okay, so again, how exactly is this possible that Biden is losing the polls to Trump after the fact, right? Well, this all has to do with Biden's favorability rating, because as you can see here from Nate Silver and 538, here is where it currently stands. Do Americans have a favorable or unfavorable opinion of Joe Biden? As of today, right? January 17th, 2025, which this website is glitching, but if we can try to get it here. Okay, close enough, right? As of January 16th, 2025, Joe Biden has a plus 18.8 unfavorable rating. That is right. He is down almost 20 points in the favorability ratings. Way more Americans, even Democrats, you have to assume, view Biden unfavorably as compared to favorably. And I should also point out that is a record historical low for Biden's favorability rating, because ever since the election, right, it's been around here. It got down, I believe, at one point almost to like 20, but you know, around in this range, right? He's down by almost 20. When Joe Biden first came into office, guys, as you can see, February 2nd, 2021, he had a plus 13.5 favorable rating. So he was viewed as more favorably than unfavorably, allegedly at least, right, by the American public. And you can see how it starts to slip as the failures of Biden's presidency rack up. But even at his peak unfavorability rating during like 2022, for instance, it only reached about 14%, right? 14% viewed him as unfavorable, got a little bit better as we got closer to the election. Then it got worse. It got as high as 15, 16, etc. But now it's all the way at 18, almost 20 points. Now, if you're curious, there's also Joe Biden's approval rating, which is a little bit different than the favorability rating, right? This is like, okay, forget what you think about him personally. What do you think of the job he has done as president? Do you approve of his policies, his agenda, the way he's handled himself as president? And you can see here a similar story. When Joe Biden first came into office, January 23rd, 2021, he had a plus 23 approval rating. And in 2022, it got pretty bad, right? Plus 17 disapprove. But guys, look at where it is at right now. As of January 17th, 18%, okay, plus points here of Americans disapprove of Joe Biden's handling of the presidency. A couple days ago, it peaked as high as 20%. Okay, he's down minus 20% in approval rating. And again, that is a record low for Joe Biden. But somehow, this guy is still running around in the waning days of his presidency and political career, claiming to the American people that if he had just stayed in the race, if he just had not been cooed out by Nancy Pelosi, he would have beat Trump in the election. Yeah, seriously, is that why you're now down 20 points in favorability and approval rating? I don't know, but that's what Joe Biden still somehow claims to believe.
Become your successor.
I don't think so. I think I would have beaten Trump, could have beaten Trump, and I think that Kamala could have beaten Trump. It would have beaten Trump. It wasn't about, I thought it was important to unify the party. And when the party was worried about whether or not I was going to be able to move, I thought even though I thought I could win again, I thought it was better to unify the party. And it was the greatest honor in my life to be President of the United States, but I didn't want to be one who caused a party that wasn't unified to lose an election. And that's why I stepped aside, but I was confident she could win.
Yeah, So you're looking at your minus 20% approval and favorability ratings approximately, and you're going out and saying, I would have won the election. Just delusional, arguably a symptom of dementia. Okay, it's that bad because it's just so utterly ungrounded from reality. But as I brought up before, guys, the proof is in the pudding. Again, Trump at this time, right before he takes office, is still beating Biden in the approval and favorability ratings. Because as you can see right here, right, as of January 17th, 2025, Donald Trump right now is enjoying a historically record high favorability rating. Right now, according to 538, only 1.1%, plus 1.1 of Americans view him as unfavorable, and that is essentially a tie, right? That is essentially 50-50 across America. And keep in mind, just because Americans view Trump unfavorably personally does not mean that they do not support his policies, his agenda, whatever else, right? And of course, there's a polling error that we saw slightly, not a lot, but slightly in the 2024 election that could also suggest, Joe Biden's approval rating may be even lower than that. Trump's approval rating might be a little bit higher, but that is his favorability. Now we take a look at, for instance, at the approval of Trump, and still, right, a similar story. You see YouGov and The Economist, which is a very far left-leaning poll. Okay, these people always overestimating the Democrats, and if you don't believe me, again, take a look at the 2024 election. So what exactly is the excuse? How could this be? You claim you would have won the election. You claim you were such an amazing president, and yet your approval rating with Americans is a disaster. Like, it is utterly and historically bad. I'm sure they're going to use the same exact excuse that they used in 2024, which is that the polls are fake, right? The polls are all right-wing. YouGov notoriously is a very right-wing pollster, and the only reason why is because, as David Pakman said, they're hurting the results, and basically the only person we should trust is Jay Ann Selzer, because that works so well on November 5th. But again, I'm sure that's what the excuse is going to be.
In something different than the other polls. And the explanation is herding. Not herding the cats, herding the dogs. What I mean is herding, H-E-R-D. There are reports that pollsters are getting results, and when they compare their results to the average of results, they go, I have a poll that's an outlier. Let me renormalize, let me remove the outliers. And what this does is it herds all the polls in a sort of self-fulfilling vicious cycle to look very similar to each other. What the polls would show is a consensus.
Yeah, David, you're absolutely right. The polls are fake. They're being bought out by right-wingers, et cetera, et cetera. And if we just trusted Jay Ann Selzer, it would all work out in our favor. Well, how did that work on November 5th? Okay, just a joke. But again, I'm sure that's what the excuse is going to be. YouGov and Nate Silver, notorious Republican propagandists, are going to be hurting the polls in favor of Trump. And Vince, that's the only reason why you're saying that in this video. It's like, okay, but the election just happened. Anyways, the good news does not stop for us there, because as you may have seen in party registration trends, even after the 2024 election, we are still gaining positive ground on the Democrats, right? More Americans are registering as Republicans than Democrats at a faster rate. Pennsylvania, especially, those trends are still going after the election, which seems to suggest that could be a state over time that is getting more and more red. You take a look at the 2030 census and the way that, Republican states are going to gain a lot more population. Blue states are going to be losing population. But guys, here's another interesting statistic that I brought up once in a prior video, but I'm going to bring up again. which is the national affiliation of party according to Gallup poll. So as you can see, in 2008, the year that Obama ran, objectively, I say this as a conservative, a very good campaign, not a great president, but a good campaigner, Democrats held a plus 12 advantage over Republicans nationally, right? This is a question of how many Americans, according to our polling, identify as Democrat versus Republican. In 2012, it was down to Democrat plus 5. And notice how it stayed like that. 2016, Democrats still 5% more in America than Republicans. In 2020, Democrats plus 5. Guys, take a look at where it is in 2024. The GOP has just taken the majority in America. 2024, it is now GOP plus 1. You guys, you ever want proof of the mandate? We keep saying we have a governing mandate and the election results back that up, but the Democrats keep saying, no, because you won the popular vote, but you got 49.94% instead of 50%. That's proof you don't have a mandate, like all these stupid excuses. Guys, I would argue this right here is also proof of a governing mandate. Democrats for over a decade, maybe even before that, I'm not sure about the 2004 or 2000 numbers, were the majority of people in this country. That is now shifted for one of the few times in the 21st century to the Republican Party, and you still want to say we don't have a governing mandate? It's ridiculous. But guys, the good news keeps racking up on the election front, but I also want to say, I don't want people to forget this, okay? The hard work is just beginning. And that might sound crazy because the 2024 election was really hard work for all of us. But no, the hard work is just beginning because it is much easier to criticize, like during election season, than it is to govern. So now that we have the mandate, both in the political electorate as well as the culture, I think you've seen that a lot too. Our job, our duty is going to be to keep it. And that's very difficult. Democrats had it in 2008. They held on to it for a long time. They lost it, during Joe Biden's presidency. Why? Because yes, governing, keeping your mandate is a lot harder. And so I think we have to learn from the mistakes between 2008 and to about 2022, when I think things started to slip for the Democrats. We have to make sure we do not fall into those same traps. So that means, number one, we have to be focused on actually governing well, right? Trump has to have a successful term if we want this mandate to last. Number two, on the cultural front, we cannot fall into those same mistakes that the Democrats made, right? Because in 2008, the Democrats really seemed like the cool party, right? The hip movement, they were welcoming, they were tolerant, etc. And then over time, they become not cool. They become lame. They become this sort of elitist club of snobs and whatnot and cancel culture and all that. So I think now, right, now that we have the mandate in the culture, we also have to make sure, okay, obviously the people who were here since day one really deserve most of the credit, but we also have to make sure that we are still registering new voters, bringing more people over to our side, and again, not falling into that toxic elitist attitude that the Democrats did over time. And if we can do that, this mandate is here to stay for a long time. But ultimately, again, the hard work is just beginning. I don't want people to forget that, but as of now, we can gloat, we can celebrate, because on his way out of office, Joe Biden will be remembered as the guy who officially ended the cultural mandate that the far and woke left had. And it's a new day in America. You love to see it. With that said, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.